Fusing cooking, chemistry, and comedy, Alton Brown has made a name for himself as a TV host and Food Network fixture. His creative eye and quick wit captivated audiences of Good Eats, Cutthroat Kitchen, and Iron Chef America. Now he brings that same humor to the page in his new book, Food for Thought, a collection of personal essays. Jeff Bennett spoke with him earlier this week.
Alton Brown, welcome to the NewsHour.
Thanks for having me on.
You have had such a unique professional journey, starting from your beginnings in television as a cinematographer for music videos.
Indeed.
When did you discover that food was your true calling?
I don't think food was ever my true calling, but I think telling stories about food was a true calling. And I think that it happened right when, it was early 90s, probably around 1992, when I started thinking more about food. When I was actually on set shooting TV commercials, I was thinking about cooking. And that's when I thought, well, that's a little backwards, so maybe I need to spend a little bit more time with this food thing.
Yeah. We were talking earlier, and you said that the process of writing this book, you didn't intend to do it.
Nope.
And when you started writing, things just sort of fell out onto the page. What surprised you about that process?
You know, at least half of this book is what I'm going to call memoir. I'm talking about myself in certain ways, and I did not expect that to come tumbling out the way that it did. I like to say that I've lived my life without a rearview mirror. I don't think a lot about the past, but apparently that's not true. I think about it plenty. And so that when anything that was memoir, stuff from my childhood, which is there, some of which I think is funny, that stuff came out, I was really surprised by it.
Yeah.
Very surprised.
Let's talk a bit about the past, namely Good Eats.
I suspect some of you are still asking.
Because that show really revolutionized food television with its mix of history and science and entertainment. How did you settle on that format? And did you know at the time that its impact would be as enduring?
Oh, like most people that are doing something strictly for themselves, which I was in that case, I had no idea that it was going to have any impact at all. When I first started thinking about writing that show and making that show, I had no intention of hosting it either. I was just going to write it and direct it. But I literally wrote down on a notepad, Julia Child, Mr. Wizard, Monty Python. Because I thought if I could get those three types of things into a show, it would be the kind of food show I would want to watch. And at the time, I didn't realize that I would do it, but that was kind of the mission statement.
What do you make of the evolution of food as entertainment since then, on TV, but nowadays on social media?
Well, everything has changed, more than I ever could have fathomed. You know, at the time that I started Good Eats, if you wanted the recipes, you had to send a address stamped envelope into this place in Ipswich, New York, I remember, in order to get things back. There was no internet. You know, we were on dial-up, the ones of us that were very sophisticated. I think that food's role in society and in culture has, of course, amplified, which is greatly due to Food Network, but then also proliferated and mutated. In a way that concerns me as someone who has spent most of my professional life trying to teach people how to cook. I think that food has moved into a lot of spaces that it probably shouldn't be in. We look at it more than we think about it. We fetishize it more than we share it. So I worry about food. I worry about cooking, and I worry about food and its place in culture in general now. I never would have seen this coming.
You've always emphasized the science behind cooking. What's a common misconception that still frustrates you?
There are so many kind of myths that are held about food. For instance, I still hear people talking about searing meat seals in juices. No, it doesn't. It does not. It doesn't do anything even remotely like that.
What's it do then?
It adds flavor. But you know, let me tell you, if you sear a piece of meat, you weigh it, you sear it, and you let it sit for a couple of minutes, and guess what? It's lost weight. You've done damage. Liquid comes out. It's worth doing, but it doesn't seal in flavor. But that's such a wonderful kind of trope, and it's such a beautiful idea.
If you could teach home cooks one fundamental technique, what would it be?
Read the recipe. How to actually read a recipe, which people have lost that ability. It's one of the things that I blame TikTok for, is that we have forgotten how to interact with this piece of instructional writing. You know, my thing is you sit down, you read it like you would read a short story, and then you read it again while taking notes about it. Do I have these ingredients? Do I know what this word means? Does anything need to marinate for 8 hours? And to do that without touching tools without touching the food. Learning how to read a recipe properly is the single biggest upgrade any beginning or even kind of middle skill cook can do to enhance their skill set.
You mentioned tools. What's a tool that every home cook should have?
A good kitchen table.
Good kitchen table.
If you don't have a good kitchen table, nothing that you do in there matters. It's where the people come together to share the food. It's absolutely pivotal. It should be the center of the entire house, in my opinion.
Well, you have taken your culinary mastery to the stage. You've been doing these live events all across the country. What do you enjoy about that?
Oh, I love performing in front of live audiences. And I think that live performing now more than ever and live events are really critical. We don't have a lot as a society. I don't think we have a lot of places where we get together anymore. We don't sit down and eat with strangers very much anymore. The going into a theater and having a bunch of people sit down to watch a performance, I think is really special and very, very badly needed in this time. But for me, someone that spent most of his time in television, it's like this massive energy source that gives you back what the camera takes away, which is really lovely and enjoyable.
Well, you said in the book that you are fortunate to have a loyal and passionate fan base, and that when you interact with folks, inevitably they ask you the same 5 questions. May I ask you these 5 questions?
You may
now?
ask me the 5 questions.
So we
yes.
can get these answers on the record? Okay.
Sure.
What foods do you always keep in your refrigerator?
This answer changes constantly depending on what's actually in the refrigerator, but I usually say 12 different kinds of mustard, 4 containers of olives, there's going to be some butter, and about 12 leftover containers of takeout Chinese food, and the only thing that I can recognize on a regular basis is the HeartGuard pills that we keep to give our dogs.
What are your guilty pleasure foods?
Oh, in that part of the essay, I talk about my problem with Little Debbie Nutty Bars. Which is a really junky snack food that's wafers with peanut butter cream in between that's coated in this. They say it's chocolate. It's not. Chocolate doesn't feel like that. It's closer to something you would make candles out of, I feel certain. But the whole point, and this goes back to childhood, is that there's a way to disassemble the bar because it's a wafer thing. The way you've got to move the pieces off and the order that you have to eat them makes Oreo eating simple by comparison. And so that's, I don't get them very often. But I'm mouth-watering right now thinking.
Number 3, what is your least favorite thing to cook?
Hard-shell blue crabs. Hard-shell blue crab because it's too much work for almost no return of satisfaction. Now, if they're soft shell, that's a whole different thing. But yes, my least favorite food to cook, because not only do I not like doing it, I don't really like eating it. I can make great crab cakes without crab.
What food do you refuse to eat?
Octopus. I used to do a fair amount of work for the Monterey Bay Aquarium out in Monterey Bay, California. I would do lectures and things out there, and I would get to, I'll make this short. I used to visit this octopus a lot, a giant Pacific octopus. And the first time that I met him and was playing with him in his enclosure, he stole my pen out of my pocket. And of course, they taste with their tentacles, and they recognize things by their tentacles. And in the story, which I tell, I came back about 8 months later, and he was getting very old at that time, and they were actually going to take him off of display because they had very short lives. But he touched my hand with one tentacle, and then with another tentacle reached up for my pen. He remembered me. He tasted me and remembered me, and I'm like, friends don't eat friends.
That's extraordinary.
I don't do that.
And what would your last meal request be?
My last meal request would be, as I say in the book, my wife is a fantastic cook. She'll go out and pick some things from the yard and she throws them in the pot. And it's like the best thing that I've ever had. So I think one of her soups would be my last meal, maybe with a good scotch and a nice cigar, and I'd be good with that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Alton Brown, the book is Food for Thought. A real delight to speak with you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me on it. I'm glad you enjoyed the book.